Hello YouTube, it is I, Vincent, back again with yet another guitar video. Take 2 of this, because my mic died in the middle of the first take of this video. But moving on from that, we are still in the middle of NAMM season. And with that, we got a whole new host of toys, gadgets, and gizmos for all of us to spend our hard-earned money on. In my last video, I talked about the top 10 coolest guitars at NAMM 2026. But this time, I thought I'd just talk about the cool gear that came out. Now, there has certainly been no shortage of really cool, innovative new stuff this year, so it was really hard to narrow this list down to only 10. But that being said, here's what I thought were the coolest things that were showed up at NAMM 2026. Starting off with the Seymour Duncan Mortal Coil. These are a multi-voice active pickup, kind of in the same vein as a Fishman Fluence. These pickups have 3 voicings. One is a typical aggressive active pickup sound, the second one is your typical jazz JB set, and the third is a nice, clean, single coil sound. On paper, seems to be pretty comparable to a Fishman Fluence Modern. With that being said, I'm a very big fan of the criminally underrated Seymour Duncan Blackouts, and I'm a very big fan of the Seymour Duncan JB. I really hope that it sounds as good or better than the sum of its parts, and I'm really curious to see if the guitar community at large really resonates with these pickups. At the number 9 slot, we have the Wampler/Synergy Pedal Head. The pedal head is a pedalboard-friendly power amp, packing 240 watts. Got an IR loader, but it also has built-in IRs, and it also has 6 built-in power amp models. Now that sounds all pretty standard, but what's really cool about this one is that it has AI machine learning. Now in my AI guitar video, I talked about how companies are increasingly using AI to shape tones. And now we got companies like Synergy and Wampler bringing a product like this to the market. Now I am no big tech AI expert, so I'm not super sure how this works, but from what I gather, when you plug your cab into the amp, it is able to learn and adapt to its specific impedance. And then this monitoring continues in real time as you're playing in order to adapt and change the sound in order to sound more like a traditional tube amp. Now on paper, that sounds pretty cool. In practice, gotta see how it actually works, see if it's actually functional or if it's just a marketing ploy. But if this is a way to get more accurate tube sounding power amps in a really small pedal board form, I think that's pretty cool. Again, I am not a tech expert, so should you feel more inclined to learn more about this, I certainly recommend reading more about it on your own. And moving on to the number 8 spot, we have the Casio Dimension Shifter. Now, the Casio Dimension Shifter answers the question, what if you took a wah pedal and put it on your guitar strap? Now, when I first saw a video about this, I thought this was kind of ridiculous. I kind of thought it was a gimmick. But the more that I thought about it, I feel like there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with this, especially in like the modern metalcore space where using pitch shifters is so common now. I feel like this will be a really cool way to do that without kind of being locked to your pedal board area. Or maybe the ergonomics of it will offer entirely new possibilities of doing crazy things. I don't know. As a wah pedal enjoyer, I think this is really cool. And I really want to get one just to kind of play around with it and see what kind of sounds I can make with it. And at number 7, we have the Varellin Devices Octal. And the Octal is really cool. The Octal is pretty much a modern alternative to your traditional vacuum tubes and your tube amps. It's typical 8-pin power tube, so it can be used for anything like 6L6s, EL34s. And it's designed for a push-pull circuit, so it should work for pretty much most every amp that you would typically use this with some exceptions, obviously. What's really cool about this to me is that as somebody who has blown a tube at a show before and it was not fun, it seems to be a really good durable alternative. From what I gather, as long as you keep this in a relatively good shape, it should last forever, and then it also increases your headroom and your efficiency. So all in all, it just seems to be an overall upgrade and improvement over vacuum tubes in pretty much every conceivable way on paper. In any case, I would love to get a hand on these for my Mesa Simulclass 290, because I really need some new tubes on that. And I remember so like to, never have to worry about tubes ever again. That seems like an amazing product. Unfortunately, pre-sale is now closed, so I cannot get them, but hey, maybe one day down the line. Up next at number 6, we have something that is significantly less tech than what we've been talking about, but is still very cool nonetheless. We have the OnStage Guitar Stand/Workbench, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a guitar stand that doubles as a workbench. I think this is the coolest thing ever. I would honestly put this at number 1 in terms of just practical usage alone. I mean, so many people just don't have somewhere to work on their guitars. They're just like on their bed, or like for me, I just do all my guitar work on my desk, I don't have anywhere dedicated to work on my guitars. So having a guitar stand that doubles as somewhere that you can work, it's genius. It's so smart. I don't know how nobody thought about this before, but this is so cool. It's great for string changes, pickup changes, polishing, whatever you might need a workbench for. And whenever you don't need it to be a workbench, just fold up to be a guitar stand. Doesn't take up any space. Again, this is genius. This is so smart. I unironically would buy one if it wasn't, again, it's sold out. But I swear to God, of everything on this list, this is probably the one thing that I unironically am going to buy. And now moving back to the super high-tech stuff, we have the Blue Guitar Amp X. Now, I was not aware of this brand's history, but apparently y'all were waiting on this for a very, very long time. But this is really, really cool. I thought this would just be another modeler, just looking at it from clips. But no, this is a full tube analog amp that is controlled by a digital signal to create any sound that you would want. It's kind of like a tube modeler. I don't know, it kind of blows my mind just reading about it. Again, I am not a tech whiz, I am just stupid guitar player, man. They liken it to a virtual soldering iron of sorts. And using this virtual soldering iron, they're able to replicate any amp sound 100% analog, which is so cool. It's crazy. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get the versatility of a modeler, but you also get the 100% pure, unadulterated tube amp sound. These should be coming out towards the end of the year, according to the website. And as somebody who is intrigued both in the tube amp and the virtual world, I will certainly be keeping track of this. And at number 4, we have the Black Star IDX Floor. Hey, that rhymed. That was cool. That was not planned at all. Now this pretty much just takes the IDX technology that is found in their combo amps and brings it down to a nice little compact pedal board form factor. Now this doesn't do anything crazy innovative. It's not wild. It's not using AI. What this does very, very well is the price. These start at $269, and at the price, I feel like that's very, very competitive. I feel like you can't really get anything as good as this for that price, especially in that form factor. And I feel like this is a fantastic starting point for people who want to kind of dip their toes into the modeling world without hard committing to a super expensive product like a Helix or a Quad Cortex or a Kemper or an Axe-Fx or what have you. And especially for gigging musicians on a budget, I think this is a fantastic option. And this one's kind of cheating because this technically came out in like the summertime, but at the number 3 spot, I'm putting the Line 6 Helix Stadium. Now I'm putting this here because I'm a big Helix fanboy. I got the Helix rack set up to my Mesa power amp, and then I got the HX Stomp whenever I have smaller gigs. I'm overall a very, very big fan of the Helix family. So when I heard that they were making basically the Helix 2.0, making a big update with new hardware, new software, I was on board 100%. I mean, I already knew the normal Helix sounded amazing. In my opinion, it didn't really need that much of an upgrade. But hearing the sound clips, it sounds amazing. But especially looking at that UI is gorgeous. That screen is amazing. Again, the normal Line 6 Helix UI, I think, is super clean and I love it. But this is just absolutely top notch. I don't know if I'll be trading in my old Helix stuff just yet because it is kind of expensive. But as somebody who is considering taking the plunge to the Quad Cortex world, I definitely will be thinking twice on that decision and might pick up this instead. At the number 2 spot, we have the PRS SE Ed Sheeran signature model. I specifically tried to not put guitars in this video, specifically because I already made a video talking about NAMM guitars, but this guitar just came so out of left field and it is spec'd so bizarrely that it's impossible for me to not put it in this video as well. This is a 27.7-inch baritone guitar that's a hollow body that also has a piezo system. Now each of those specs on their own is a little bit wonky. Putting them all together is just absolutely lunacy, but I love it. I love the excess of it, and I especially love the color of it. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how this sounds and plays, and I would love to get my hand on one of these to test out. And at the number 1 spot, the thing that most people have been talking about on social media from NAMM, from what it seems like, we have the Quad Cortex Mini. Now, I love this so much. I love that it is just a tiny little box with just a screen and 4 buttons. I love how minimalist it is while still maintaining 100% of the exact same functionality. My biggest gripe with the Nano Cortex is that, yes, you had some of the functionality of the Quad Cortex, but you were limited in so many ways. I think that the Line 6 Stomp is such a fantastic product because you get functionally the exact same everything as the Helix in a very tiny form factor that's also significantly more affordable. I thought the Nano Cortex was gonna be that. Unfortunately, it was not. But now here comes the Mini Cortex. Now this is still kind of expensive. It's not as cheap as something like a Stomp, but it is still cheaper than the main Quad Cortex, so I feel like that would make it very, very appealing for a lot of people. The screen is the same size, which I think is very, very impressive. And I'm frankly so shocked they were able to shrink the footprint of such a powerful device so much. I know that I was just talking about how cool the Line 6 Stadium was and how I'd probably get that over a Quad Cortex, but now that they dropped this I don't know, when they dropped it, it was kind of like an Apple iPhone reveal. There was just something magical about it. And all in all, I think it's probably my favorite gear drop of NAMM 2026. But that's enough of me yapping about things that I will never be able to afford. What do you guys think? What was the coolest stuff that you guys saw from NAMM 2026? Was there something really, really cool that I missed out on this list? Let me know down in the comments section. And if you like this video, please feel free to leave a like and a subscribe. It certainly helps me out immensely. And with all that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.